Good morning. I'm downtown Logan Brown.
I am Braydon.
And this is the Pickleball Effect Podcast.
All right, today, Logan and I, we're going to chat. We got some water cooler items, just kind of some random things that came up this week. We want to talk about some new, some Joe's Talking Pro stuff around new formats announced for APP, and some pivots MLP made for the December event. We got some paddle babble with Pickleball Apes, and go from there.
Let's pickle.
Logan, we do this good morning intro. What if people listen in the afternoon? Like, are we doing this wrong?
Well, what if you recorded ESPN Sports Center in the morning and then watched it at night? Does it still count?
They don't say good morning.
They do on Get Up. Come on.
Oh, do they? Okay.
You wouldn't know. You don't have cable.
Nah, dude. I don't listen to anything except for us. We're the only ones I care about.
That's right. We should totally change it up though. Maybe like every single time I'll wear a different hat and we'll do a different intro.
Okay, there we go. I think
good afternoon. Good. We should just do like choose your own adventure. What time are you listening? Do you want the morning, afternoon, or the night?
Can we make this dynamic? Can you do just a dynamic insert based on the time of day they listen? You could do that.
That'd be awesome.
All other things.
We could do it as chapters, like
just do 3 recordings depending on when you.
Yeah, depending on
when you listen. Watching. Start here.
Yeah, but you need to tell me about from last week. Your pineapple.
Oh, okay. I did. I tried it. You sent me the recipe. So my wife and I were making it, right? Like it's I was very skeptical as we were putting this together. It's got like this cheese, the crumble, the pineapple, you bake it. Definitely nothing I've tried before. But it was good, dude. It's like is it a dessert?
Yeah, basically.
It tasted desserty.
Yeah, I mean, you have it's like everything I feel like in the Southeast for maybe for you too, but Thanksgiving's very savory, right? It's like gravy, green beans, like turkey. And so this is like the sweetness to all of it. So you can throw it on your plate with your main course and just have it as something sweet to go along with it. But yeah, it can be a dessert for sure.
Yeah, no, it was good. I liked it. Definitely new. It was delicious. We ate the whole thing. Well, we ate about half of it dinner, then finished it the next 2 days. But no, I enjoyed it. Did you make the rainbow jello?
No, I don't think I got it. I don't think I got the recipe for the rainbow jello. You said it takes all day.
It does. It takes a long time.
Goodness.
And it's been confirmed. I am going to Washington. We're actually leaving earlier than I expected. So we knew it was happening.
Headed up to Spokane. Yep. Here we go.
I'll find some games there this weekend. My Spokane people. I got a crew there. I got some numbers saved from last year. I'll hit them up.
That'd be a good time. I looked it up, man. It looks like the images on Google looks like a cool city.
Yeah, no, it's nice. I like Spokane. I did so a couple of our water cooler things I wanted to talk about. First, so there's been a lot of chatter about the new S1 ball. This is the Selkirk S1 ball. We've kind of touched on this before, but it's now available. People can purchase it. So we're starting to see comments and things about it online. And then the indoor place that I go to here now that opened a couple weeks ago, they're like a Selkirk club, and they're required as part of their like sponsorship with Selkirk, they're required to use S1 balls. So they have a ton of S1 balls. So everyone's been using them here because we've all been playing at the club now that it's cold.
Yeah.
And so I played with it a few times now, and like I like it. Like it's a good ball. Is it like light years or really that much different than everything's out there? As far as playability, like I don't think so. It's kind of like right up there with like the Franklin and Dura. It's probably best described as something in between, right? Like a lot of balls are. Yeah. But their big thing is the no crack thing, right?
Well, that's pretty wild. I mean, it's a big claim. A year,
right?
No crack,
right? Okay, that's a long time. Like
some players would say, like if it doesn't break in a day.
Yeah. Did they test this ball for a year? How do they know that it doesn't crack for a year?
Dude, it's just kind of like insurance. That like I didn't like study the insurance game, but the insurance game is wild. Like people know the percentage of folks who file claims, right? So they know like the risk they're taking inherently, and just like we'll put out a subpar product, and we already know that only 20% will ever file a claim. Now let's put out a really good product that we've tested for a few months, and we know that even the 20% that might have put in for a claim, that'll be dwindled down to 10%. And even then, they still make you pay for the shipping. So really, they're just putting more Selkirk balls back in your hand, and so it's kind of a marketing opportunity. It's not bad.
No, I thought it was clever. And when you look at a lot of the complaints of the balls out there, a lot of it's because like cracking, like balls crack quick in the cold weather, or they don't last very long, and so they're like going after that, which I think is unique for a couple of reasons. Like one, most new ball brands are like, we play fast and we don't go out of round. They kind of talk about durability, but they're like really going after the no cracking over like the performance of the ball, if that makes sense. Like they're
Yeah, I feel like you got to
emphasizing
pick
that,
your
I feel like.
path, right? But I mean, here's my thing. Do you think that if you're a player, number one, maybe you're in agreement that you should likely save some money on this because you don't have to replace balls every couple of weeks. Maybe this is every couple of months now. But do you think they're going to take a hit on the amount of people who rebuy just because you don't need to? Or do you think that the ball's really just going to degrade because plastic's only going to be as bouncy out of the box for a little while?
Yeah, I think if these balls do go bad, if they really don't crack, right, like they're going to get soft and lose performance. So you're going to have to buy new ones.
Yeah.
But it's just not going to be for cracking if it stays true. Are you a warranty guy? Like, do you file claims or do you just take the hit?
I mean, I haven't. I don't know. It has to be like a big ticket item or something.
Yeah, something small like this, it's probably less likely, right?
Anything yeah. I mean, for real, like anything under 50, maybe even
Yeah, I'm kind of the
100.
same
I'm
way.
probably not fooling around with it.
It takes a decent amount of time to like do it, and it's annoying.
And you know what else is like a mental thing is that if you feel inherently like you have gotten the value out of the $20 you spent, or in this case, it's like $16. If you feel like you've gotten the value out of that $16, you're even more or less likely to file a claim because you almost feel like you're cheating the system a little bit. It's like, dude, I played with this ball for like 3 months and now
Oh,
I'm going to
people
tell
don't
you
care
that I
about
want
that.
new ones. Yeah.
Nah, that doesn't go through people. Like people take hardcore advantage of shoe warranties, like the outsole.
Do they though?
People don't care about
I don't know
companies'
anybody who's
money.
ever done it. Do
There's
they
a
do
few
it?
people here that cycle through shoes, so they take advantage of the outsole warranty. When I
Okay.
was doing the retail thing, 6 months ago or whatever, people don't care if it costs me money to return something. Like they care
They're just like,
less.
send this back. Okay.
Yeah, like I don't think people are worried about that.
What about the shoes? What's going on with Selkirk shoes? Did that ever
Yeah,
happen?
I don't I don't think so. They dropped them.
They
I
did.
don't
Okay.
think.
Because
Well, like
Dylan was like the only one wearing them.
yeah,
Pretty
I
sure.
know Nunnery was wearing them for a bit. I don't know if he still does, but yeah, they made shoes. They sent some to me and I tried them. They're all right, but nothing. Like I'm not wearing them. I wear my other stuff.
I think it's pretty tough to go head to toe. And I mean, of course, Nike and Adidas have done it, but even though they've been around for 10 years, Selkirk's still pretty young. It's hard to go from like hard goods and through the entire soft goods catalog so quickly.
Look at there. I mean, they're pushing that pretty hard. It seems like as far as apparel and everything. And
Yeah, it's cool.
I think they're the ones that are going to win that game for sure. Like the bigger brands are going to win there because no one's like, if you're a new paddle brand, it's probably a lot harder to sell shirts with your paddle than it is for them. Anyways, I did want to bring this up. So you sent this to me about the warranty for this S1 balls. So when you look at the details of the their warranty page or whatever, it says you actually have to crack 4 balls before you can file a claim. And I bet a lot of people don't know that. They probably just think 1 ball, but it's a pack. So the smallest pack you can buy is 4 balls.
Yeah.
And you have to crack all 4 before you can file a claim. So they're really betting that all 4 won't crack. They're just going to hope that one of them is going to hold strong and not
I mean
crack.
that, and they say something along the lines of that the ball can't be out of round either. So it's like it can't be already kind of like elongated or out of round in general before it cracked.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
it's even more nuanced.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you determine that? Because the balls actually go out of round fairly quickly, like kind of like a Dura does, and they kind of form back to a circle eventually. But yeah, that's just what they do. They go out of round.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I feel like I think Selkirk's got something going here because if they say we don't accept it out of round, they receive these balls. Somebody on their side says, listen, this ball is like an egg. And they send an email back and they say, hey, we already know that you've paid $6. What we'll do is we'll put that $6 towards a new pack of balls and we'll send it your way. How's that sound? And they're like, great. Okay, you owe us $10. And they're like, okay,
And they
fine.
keep getting balls in people's hands. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that if anybody has the capability of making their ball the number one, it's going to be them for a few reasons. One, they're in all these clubs. They're forcing them to use their balls. Like there's the distribution there. They're in big box retailers like Selkirk's and Costco, Selkirk's and Dick's, so that they have the distribution channels. They have the brand name, and they could potentially start using their relationships to get their ball as a tournament ball, right? And so like when you if they check all four of those off, like no one's going to stop them, right?
I'm impressed with them more and more recently. I didn't even realize they've been around for a decade, but after I did some research on them, I don't know if you can be as big as a Nike or if they even want to, just because it's pickleball specific right now. But I think for this sport, they've done an amazing job at just becoming like the market leaders. It's cool.
Yeah, they got a good thing going there, I imagine you can make a lot of money off balls, just because they're you go through them.
Yeah, very consumable. It's a good one.
Yeah, that's the word. It's the business. And then I wanted to talk about Swing Vision with you. So this is a new app that came up. I had messaged you about it earlier. Someone, I forget their name, and I feel bad, but they brought this app up to my attention and said I should go try it out. And so I did. So it's an AI that's supposed to track stats while you play. We were talking offline. You said you tried to make it work, and it was kind of tricky doing an open play, getting it set up in time. So you were able to record a game, but I was able to record a game, and so it's actually kind of tricky to use. So Swing Vision, just a little background here, is historically a stats app / line call app for tennis. I don't know how well they've done there. I had actually heard of them somehow, somewhere, and assuming they're doing decently, there. So they have like a subscription model. You pay for their line call service or whatever. But they had a free month trial for pickleball. They just barely launched their app for pickleball, so it's supposed to keep stats. It doesn't do line calls yet, but it does keep stats. And so I filmed the game, and it was kind of tricky to set up because they want you to set up the camera and like a specific view at a certain height. And if you don't get this like optimal setup, it's supposedly not as accurate. So I did the best I could. It wants you right behind the court. It wants it really high. I just used my tripod, put it as high as I could, and angled it down. But I think ideally it would have wanted it higher, like if you were hanging your camera on like a tennis court fence that are like 20 feet. And so they basically just duplicated their tennis app, made it the pickleball one. So I recorded a game, and it gives you stats like how fast your serve was, or how many serves you got in from the ad or the deuce side, how many drives with your forehand and back. Like it gives you all these like tennis related stats, and there wasn't very many actionable insights for pickleball. Like I would have liked to have seen like drop first drive percentage, or like the percentage I was able to advance to the net on my serve. It just didn't have any pickleball specific stats. They're all tennis stats just thrown into pickleball. Like it was definitely like a minimum viable MVP product they just threw out and see how it does. But the idea of it is really cool, because one of the things I did like about it is after you filmed the game, it just automatically cut and compiled clips from the game. So it had like a stack of 10 videos of every backhand you hit, a stack of 10 videos of every forehand you hit. So you could just go through those clips and watch every backhand you hit and every forehand you hit. And so you don't have to go cut it up yourself, and it just categorizes them that way, which is really cool. But like if they were to categorize that into like every drive I hit, every drop I hit, every dink rally or something like that would be super valuable, because then you don't have to go and analyze the video yourself and cut it up yourself. Like it's just immediate. You can go watch, play back those shots and, look at form or whatever. So I think the bare bones of it, the idea of it is super cool. I know there's a few other apps out there doing this kind of similar AI stat tracking thing, but this is the first one I've seen like come to market that you can actually download and use. Can't remember the names of the other companies. I know Pickleball Apes that we're going to talk about later. They're actually working on an AI app.
Oh, really?
Funny enough, yeah, they've started talking about that.
But yeah, this would be a cool idea for like the like PPA or APP amateur tournaments. And what I mean is, let's say that like both for their growth and for you as a player and your growth, if they had like a booth set up and they had people on site that said, as you're registering for the tournament, like coming on site and signing in, like, hey, for $20, we're going to go ahead and we'll come to your court when you're on. We'll film one of your matches. We'll set it all up. Once you're done, you'll get an email that has a link, and you download the app, and you get a recording of all your shots, and it's going to have all this AI technology. Like, would you have done that for $20 or something? And that way,
not
you could
with
analyze
what it
stuff?
is right now, but
okay,
it could get to that point. I think.
Yeah, it just needs more pickleball oriented stats.
Just needs more pickleball oriented. And I don't know what it takes to get there, because it was obviously a tennis app with the pickleball name slapped on it.
Yeah, like it. I think you bring up a good point about the optimal view for the camera, which is difficult. I know this one guy locally. He tried to go out, and maybe still does, but he would actually set up his camera. He had like a GoPro or a really nice like Sony camera, and he had built this tripod that kind of connects to the top of the fence, and he would just film you, and then he would cut out any kind of like blank spots and send it to you, and that was just his service. And there was no AI, there was none of that stuff, but a lot of people in town like wanted it. So I just wonder, number one, like, will people do it on their own? I don't know. But if someone was going to film for them, I wonder if they'd be much more interested in analyzing that data if it was just done automatically somehow.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it certainly could be cool. And like if they do get it in a good place, I could totally see myself like subscribing for a month and just doing it a bunch of times, but not like a yearly thing. I don't think I would do it more than a few times, or maybe do it like once every few months, every 6 months or something as I progress. But I don't think this was something I would need to do every time.
Yeah, there needs to be some other incentive to come back other than just watching your gameplay every day.
But I do think it's cool, and it'll get better, I'm sure.
I agree. If anybody out there is trying it, like, let us know.
Yeah, Swing Vision, go check it out.
Yep, I see their ads on Instagram too all the time.
Oh, do you?
The ads I get are more so about like the line call thing, which when I was playing tennis, just I feel like would be such a douchey move, to be honest. Hey, before we start playing, like let's put this camera up, and then like, I don't really think that call's in, dude. Like, let's look at my phone. You want to check it? Here we go. It's on camera. Like, I just feel like maybe it's just my personality, but it wouldn't be me.
No, not unless you're playing Davidze.
Yeah. These 6 line judges couldn't figure it out. So let's look at my phone. There you go.
And then another little kind of fun tidbit here for our water cooler section is this this post you sent me about some grass courts in Australia. So we had talked about different court surfaces in previous pods, and like it's like actually happening. These are grass courts that they're using in Australia, and you were excited about this.
I am, because I just think it's neat. I think it's neat. I've been like, I saw some folks playing on clay on Instagram, and that kind of got me excited. I think maybe I'm excited because I come from a tennis world where they play on 3 different surfaces, right? So you have the hard court, and then you have the hard true, whatever you call it, the clay. It's what I call it. And then you have grass. And so like, it can be very different. Like, that's where Ben Johns doesn't win every tournament, because Federer is great on grass. Djokovic is like the hard court king. Rafa Nadal, clay court king. And all of those guys have won on every single surface, but it's just great to see how the game changes when you change up the surface. And I think we have an opportunity in pickleball to do the same.
Yeah, that would be, I agree. I'm totally on board with this, and it adds variety to the viewing experience. I do think that's a good idea and would be fun. And the post you sent me about it, I thought was hilarious. It was like, grass courts available in Australia. One player confirmed that the bounce is good. Like I just thought that
player.
phrase was funny. Some random dude said the bounce is great. Like, yeah, okay.
We have a sample of one. It's really great.
But I do love the idea
Sally.
of it. Anyway, so that was fun. Hopefully that continues to spread. I don't know how that would catch on, but maybe someday.
I don't think catch on. I just think that if now tennis does it mainly in Europe, but I think that if you could figure it out, what a great major for the PPA to do a global tournament. Maybe you take it overseas.
Go to Australia.
Play pickleball. Yeah, I mean Australia. That would suck for us. We wouldn't be able to watch it, but yeah, but even you could go to England or something and do it there, where I think those courts exist all over the place.
I didn't realize court services was like a regional thing. So like
the grass is just like, I think it's really tough to keep one of those courts up in the United States based on our climate, right? So I think that just the grass thrives more off the dampness, gray skies, more water. Right around here, mostly where I am, it's very dry, very hot. It would fry. And I think in the Northeast they have some. I think maybe Pacific Northwest there's some, but it's hard to find a grass court in the United States, I feel like.
As the sport expands, it's going to be worldwide someday. They're going to be traveling and doing more events. I mean, the APP is already pushing that. Like, they could make it happen.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So speaking of APP, this news
is the best news you've ever heard. I mean,
this made me so grumpy, dude. So they came out and announced that all of their tournaments in 2024, right?
Yeah.
Are now going to be a round robin pool play with the playoff format. So they used to do the W elimination. So other than the Open, so the Open is still going to be WLM. So I guess I'm just gonna have to get better and play in the Opens because
you and Megan Fudge are out.
Hate round you and
Megan Fudge are out of APP. I'm done. I'm announcing my retirement.
I do not like pool play. It is not the best way to determine the best teams. It's hard to find your rhythm, and it's just not as fun to me. And the reasons they cited were more games and better like timing. Like you can cook through the games quicker. I guess it's easier to organize. You assign 4 courts to your pool and you just kind of cook through it.
Yeah.
And but yeah, dude, they're doing 1 game to 15 in the pool play, and so anyone can win 1 game. It doesn't. The best teams just don't always come out. Like, anyways, don't like it. And then they do best out of 3 in the pool play. And then this also like limits the number of players that can sign up, right? So like they're saying a max of 6 teams for a pool, and I think max of like 2 pools, so that'd be like a total of 12 players. Whereas before you could have like up to 20 plus players, and you just keep stacking up the tournament, and they make more money because more people sign up. But this way, it's capped, and so I think that's kind of a disadvantage to them there. Actually, I mean, I don't know if they may have capped stuff already at 12, but I've played at tournaments where they do, like they just take up to 24 teams, but you can't do that with pool play. Then it gets real messy and weird. Like that one tournament I talked about, how there was like 4 pools and 4 teams, and it just gets weird. You can't do more than 2 pools, at least with the way they said they're going to do it is maximum of 2 pools, 2 teams from each pool go through. So at least there is some room for error. Maybe you have 1 bad game and then you win the rest. You can still get through. But yeah, not a fan of that.
Let's go play an APP together. Let's see if we can win one.
Dude, I'm not doing it.
You're out.
I'm out. I'll coach you.
PPA
I'll
only.
coach you.
Thanks.
Unless we do Open and we want to go get slaughtered in Open.
No, I'm good. It's cool with me. I'm out on that idea.
And then there's some MLP news about how they're making some changes to the final event. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the good and the bad. The good is that we're going to have an MLP event next month. And I think a lot of folks, some folks online were skeptical that anything was going to happen here just so they could cut costs, move on to 2024. This season really doesn't mean much except for maybe the prize money being paid to players. So they decided instead of a full normal event like they were going to do in December, this is the final, the finale. We're in the playoffs and the
super
final now.
final.
Yeah, we're in it. So, it. I mean, here's more good and bad. The bad is that it's been moved to a Monday and Tuesday event, and so
Why is that bad?
I just can't imagine a lot of people are going to be showing up, like the
Or
fans.
like tickets?
Yeah, I just can't imagine the fans are going to be that great on a Monday, Tuesday. But maybe I'm wrong. The good there though is that Tuesday right. The finals are going to be on ESPN. The bad is it's 3 p.m. Eastern time, so hope you're got a lunch break. Maybe you can watch it. But I don't know.
Everybody's watching it while they're at work. Let's be real.
Everybody works from home these days, huh? Yeah. So anyway, so let's get down to the brass tacks. We got the top 4 teams from Premier are showing up. So DC, Miami, Orlando, Chicago. Whoever loses between DC and Orlando, they play first, has to play the winner of Chicago and Miami. So if you lose that match, you play the winner of Chicago and Miami for a spot in the finals. So really, if you win, if whoever wins DC to Orlando, they're into the finals automatically. Whoever loses has to go then play again. So if you're Chicago and Miami, you've already played once. The loser's out altogether. The winner has to go play again regardless. And then the winner of that will be the championship. So I imagine most people have their money on DC and Orlando going again, probably. But we'll see if I had to choose between Chicago and Miami, I'd say Chicago. But I don't know if they really have too great of a shot.
Chicago, that's Ben's team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Who's the other team?
So Miami is Tyson's team.
Who's
and Fed or Pablo? Is it Fed or Pablo?
That could go either way.
Yeah,
I think they've split games, haven't they, in the playoffs? I know Tyson beat them a couple times ago, and then I think they played again this last one, and then Ben's team, Chicago Slice, won. So I think they're 1-1, at least in the playoffs.
We'll see what happens. And on the challenger side, of course, the Hard Eights are in the championship already. So St. Louis and
they're just in. They don't have to play in. They're just in the championship.
No, they're just in. They're only inviting those 3 teams. So St. Louis will play is it still the BLQK? Is it still the BLQK Bears, or is it just Black Bears now? The Cal. Yeah. Anyway, it's the team that
whatever you say it is, Logan.
Cool. It's the team that Jimmy Miller just got announced as the president of. So St. Louis will play them, and then the winner of that goes against the Hard Eights in the championship for the Challenger League.
Well, I guess we'll just get that to the Hard Eights. I wonder why they're doing that different than the Premier.
Yeah, I wonder if it has to do with speed. I don't know. It seems like this is just a bit of let's get this over with kind of thing.
Maybe. It's probably not getting aired on ESPN like the Premier is.
No, I don't think so. I think specifically they said the championship premiere, it's like 3 to 5 p.m. on Tuesday.
I wonder if that's Eastern. Why they're doing on Monday, Tuesday is for the air coverage.
It could be. Or like they just, maybe something fell through with the club. I don't know. It's at another Lifetime in San Clemente. And I think that's the same club that PPA is going to be at next, which is like it's not next weekend, but it's November 30th. So it has to be the weekend after, right?
I think so.
The finals, the November 30th through the 3rd. So it's not everybody, but yeah, PPA is again on November 30th through the 3rd. And then this is going to happen like literally right after the PPA tournament. So some of those players will just stick around, like Ben Johns and Tyson will just be rolling over into the Monday, Tuesday.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, cool. That'll be fun. Let's move on to Paddle Babble. So we both actually I want to start with talking about Anna-Leigh's paddle just for a second. So I want to revise what I said a little bit from last time. Last time I'm still not a fan of it, but I do want to revise what I said. I my original impression of it. So I only played with it once when I was talking about it in our last pod, and I was like, it didn't feel very lively. It feels kind of dead. And I played with it again, did some more comparisons, and it does have a little more power than I think I originally suggested. It's when you play with it side by side, like a 14 millimeter thermo, it's not quite as much as a 14 thermo, but it's still decent. And I think for how light it is, like it has a crazy light swing weight at 100, and like an average, is closer to like 110, 115. So this thing's like crazy light. It has a really light static weight of 7.6. So it's really, really light. And it gets pretty good power considering how light it is. And it's not quite like, it's not as dead as I suggested. I think I got that initial impression partly because it just doesn't sound good. Like it sounds dead. And
Yeah, it's
if
like
you,
in your video, it sounded like it really has like a crack, like a
it's
crack
loud.
Of a bat, kind of.
It's weird. Like if you've ever played a Nomex core paddle, like an Onyx Z5 or something,
Yeah,
it kind of has that old, like that hard hollow feel that those have, because they're claiming that they have like a different polymer or a different like core material. They're calling it composite polymer, and composite's like this general term of like a mixture of materials. So no one really knows what composite means. It's almost like a way to hide or try to sound cool.
Yeah.
But they're using something different, but it feels and plays like Nomex, which is like a material that has not been used for a long time because it's super loud. And
Got it.
But Nomex does give you a little more power than like a typical polymer core does. And but it does it. It's, to me, it felt like a Nomex core with a RCF face. And it's just this paddle that's got Anna-Leigh's signature on it, but it's stuff it's like a paddle that's been available for years and years now. Like it's nothing new. You can go get a 14 millimeter Gen 1 RCF paddle for $100. Like,
and that price point was pretty.
Yeah, 230, dude.
Yeah,
230. And I
smacks you in the face a little bit.
Yeah, big old smack in the face. And you can get 10% off, but it's still over 200. I just didn't think it was worth it. No, but I can see Anna-Leigh just ripping it, especially if she adds some weight to it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I feel like you could give those guys a piece of cardboard and it would
they smack it.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about Pickleball Apes for a second. So we mentioned them earlier with them coming out with an AI thing. They sent us both their paddles. So they have two paddles. This is a new brand that is getting or has gotten popular because of the use of a Kevlar facing material mixed with carbon fiber. And I think they're the first ones to do it. They have like a patent pending for the use of Kevlar in the facing material, which I think is fascinating, because if this patent does go through, there's like a bunch of companies right now coming out with Kevlar paddles, and 60 being one of them. I think they're going to have to respect this patent. Anyways, Pickleball Apes, they have two versions. They have a hybrid shape, which they just barely came out with, called the ProLine Energy S. Mm-hmm. Then they have like an extra elongated shape called the ProLine Energy. This was their first paddle, and it's like extra elongated at 17 inches long rather than your typically elongated shape, which is 16 and a half. So you were sent both. Have you played both of them?
Yeah.
Give me your first thoughts.
For sure. All right. So I think I might do like a little review too, just because I'm going to change up the way that I would speak about a paddle than like the really good guys like Braydon. I'm just going to give the average Joe's view.
You're just as good to me, dude.
My little sneak peek of it all.
I'm just better looking is all.
That's right. Yeah. So the elongated one, by the way, when you look at it, it's a little jarring. It's like, what in the world is that?
It's long.
But to be honest, it's only a half inch longer, and I think a quarter or a half inch wider or slimmer. It's not like when you actually compare the numbers, it's not crazy, but
right. But it feels long, right?
It does. So that's what I was going to get at, is that I played singles with it. I got lucky on Tuesday or Thursday night. The crowds bailed at the courts like 8:30, so I played with a buddy of mine, and it felt like playing with a tennis racket a bit again, and I could really whip through the ball, and I was playing really good with that. My two-handed backhands were there.
It's a really long handle too. I think it's like 6 inches. So I think that
not
combined with like
tennis racket, but yeah, it was good.
Yeah. I think the long handle combined with the extra long, like just overall length, gives it that like, whoa, like this is different.
Yeah, and where I got hung up. So when I played some 3-5 level play with it, and I felt like I was having a lot of fun. Like I was hitting good balls, so I was able to dink. It was fine. But when I got into a 4-0 match and above, I played another one where things got a little quicker and faster. I found myself feeling like the paddle was more like a tool in my hand than an extension of my hand. And so there were times where maybe the ball got like slightly behind me on a backhand dink. And I found myself almost needing to I wanted to choke up on the paddle, like on the handle so that I could make it shorter so I could kind of whip through it. And it was just so long that it was like a spoon, I was like, dipping out a bowl of soup or something. And I didn't like that. But anyway, I think in general, my thoughts on the elongated was that if you are like a paddle nerd, I would throw that wand in your quiver and just have it as like something fun to play with because it felt good. It has its time, I think, where you're just like playing around having fun. And if you're playing singles, I think it maybe could be a good paddle for you. What do you think about that one? And then maybe we'll talk about the S. I want to know about your thoughts on the long one.
No, I loved your comments. I had a lot of very similar thoughts and feelings about it. So yes, like you don't think a half inch would make a difference. I've never experienced or played with anything longer than 16 and a half.
Yeah.
So this was my first experience with one. And like, to your point, like it feels longer. It's weird. Like you can feel the extra length, like it's there. And it takes, the first time I played with it, I was just adjusting and figuring it out. And then the second time I played with it, it was a lot better, but it's different and it feels longer. It does feel skinnier. So it takes a second to get used to for just kind of in a variety of situations, like you explained with that backhand moment. But like I immediately connected with it on like drives, to your point, like it carries through and just, I don't know how there's just more lag. Like
there's something for me where like with tennis too, like when you have that length of a tennis racket, your face can almost make contact here, but you can drag the ball out here. Yeah. And that's what it felt like I was doing with it.
So it was really cool that way. Like you could definitely notice that on drives. Like my drives were stronger. It felt more natural. Like I didn't feel like I was forcing it. I didn't feel like I was over swinging or I don't know. Like it just swung better there.
Yeah.
And it felt really good. But yeah, at the net, it was different. It took some getting used to. The extra length is different. But as I adjusted to it, it was actually really fun. Like the length is there for a variety of situations with volleys, but it does, like it just takes longer to turn around. Like with that scoop you're talking about, like it's not quite as nimble. And when I look at the swing weights of it, so mine measured at 126. Now, when I play with it, which is a very high measurement, when you play with it, it doesn't feel like heavy, but it does feel like, I don't know, like it's hard to get around the ball in certain situations.
Because it's so like long, it's almost like that tip is weighing you down a little bit. It's like,
and yeah, so it was kind of different there, but I thought it was unique. I thought it was cool, and I could definitely see why a lot of people really love it. And for how long it was, I thought it was pretty forgiving. Like I thought the forgiveness was there from side to side, other than it was just physically narrower.
Yes.
Like that's why the sweet spot wasn't bigger.
I literally missed a ball by a quarter of an inch over the top. Like somebody sped it up and I put the paddle out there. I have video of this too. It's hilarious. Like the ball just goes right over the edge of it.
But like the paddle itself, like it was actually surprisingly like forgiving. Like if you made contact, decent contact, like it was good, but like it's just physically narrower. So if there's just not as much space there. But it's a cool paddle. I'm going to spend more time with it and develop all my thoughts. But first impressions, like, yeah, it's cool. It's fun. It's unique. I think there's something special about it. I felt like I was hitting it harder, especially on overheads and drives with it than I would like a typical thermo. But I was surprised with my swing weight measurement. It was higher than what others. I was looking at John Q's. His was around like 120, 122 or something.
Yeah.
And I was talking with Pickleball Apes about it. They said most of theirs are around 120, 122. So I don't know if I got an odd one, but it makes sense to me that the paddle does have a longer or a higher swing weight. One, because it is longer. Longer paddles have higher swing weights. And two, it has a super long handle. Typically, the longer the handle, the more head heavy the paddle is going to be. And it's going to have a higher swing weight. And it has both of those. And so like that measurement didn't surprise me. I was actually surprised to see other people getting 120, 122 ish. 126 made more sense to me intuitively, but for what it's worth, that's what other people were getting at. But yeah, it's kind of fun to see our impressions line up there. But we'll have to spend some more time with it. But it's definitely unique and fun.
Yeah, I would agree on that. I think for 150, I'm sure there's a discount code that Braydon can offer you. Like I think it's a fun paddle to bring out to the court, and you can use it just by playing rec games, or if you want to play singles, I think it's a fun paddle for that too.
Yeah, and I know John Q, right? Like it was his. I don't know if it still is, but like it was his main paddle for a long time. He loves it. He swears by it, and so if you want that extra long reach, like it'll do it for you. And I think it's forgiving enough for what it is, which is cool. So let's talk about the S.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to get your thoughts on the different. Like, do you think the Kevlar face plays different than just a traditional carbon fiber face?
No, not plays different. But the one thing I did notice, and actually
play slash like feel, like does it give you a different sensation?
I thought it felt a little different. So I went out there with a group of like 4 or 5 people, and we rotated in. And I didn't let anybody, I didn't like taint their opinion. I just said, hey, I got this paddle. Like, you want to try it? And we just rotated around with it. Everybody played a game with it or so. And then I just asked their opinions. And most people, that's what they brought up, was that they felt like it was a bit more muted. And I've been told that the Kevlar infused there is supposed to create a bit more vibration dampening feel. So you're not going to like, but the odd part about it was that it was almost like when you don't hit the sweet spot, you're not even sure. So you don't like get negative feedback that you've missed it. And then at the same token, I guess we haven't gotten to that, but the Kevlar part, that was the only thing. I didn't feel like I got like extra spin or anything crazy like that. I just felt like
power wise, do you feel like there's a difference between it and other thermos you've hit?
No, but I didn't.
So it was mostly just kind of the muted feel is what you noted.
Muted feel. And I know that this got brought up, maybe not so much with Pickleball Apes, but it got brought up with, is it the Pro Drive or whatever it's called, that about like sound. Like it was supposed to be like a noisier or louder, but I didn't feel like that was the case. I don't know if that was just because the Pro Drive was more Kevlar or something.
Yeah, they had Kevlar in the core.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Which I think Kevlar and Nomex are actually similar-ish. I have to go read up on it. But I think, and I know Nomex is louder as a core. So if they are similar, that makes sense that Kevlar would be louder if it was a core material. But does that translate with the face? I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't. No one on the court thought that it was like loud. If that matters to anyone, it didn't seem like it was louder.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
But yeah, that was my experience with it. I mean, in general, my feedback from myself and actually everybody else in the court was just that it was like, and we put some lead on it and it felt a little better. And I think you could play around with the placement there and kind of widen the sweet spot a little bit. And at that point, it's similar to some of the other stuff on the market. I don't think you're going to like really have that many performance issues if you went with this paddle. I think it's fun to bring something new out to the court. So if you're like a social person and you want to come out with something new and be able to like socialize about the Kevlar and like, why is my paddle red? It could be fun, but I don't think you're going to buy this paddle to go and be leaps and bounds above the competition, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I dude, you got this.
Stealing out of your,
you're still in my thunder here. No, I had very similar thoughts. So the way I explained it or thought about it was like, it kind of felt like a muted or like a toned down thermo, right? Like, so you explained it as being like a little more muted, a little like softer feeling. So I do think the control and the feel was nice versus the Kevlar, which makes sense. So I think what's going on here with the Kevlar is it's a stiffer material than carbon fiber. And some people think that stiffer equals more power, but it's actually the opposite. More flex means more power, right? Like that's why like
it can receive and then bounce back.
Right. That's why like EVA foams are so powerful, is because it's the trampoline effect. But like the stiffer the material, it's actually less powerful. But it does reduce vibrations and it's supposed to provide better feel. So like in the past, now everything's carbon fiber, but it used to be like more fiberglass and carbon fiber. And it was the situation there was carbon fiber is a stiffer material, so it actually gives you more control. And fiberglass had more flex and gave you more power. And so I almost feel like this is kind of a similar situation where like the carbon fiber is not quite as stiff as the Kevlar. And so it's giving you a little more muted feel. It's absorbing just a little more vibration. I think the power output is just a little bit less. than carbon, but you do gain some, like that, almost like a softer, more muted feel that you described. And so I think that's the biggest difference. But again, it's subtle. It's not big difference between that and a different thermo. And but I do so like the Proline Energy S, like yeah, it's a nice paddle, but I didn't feel like it was game changing like Kevlar as a material. Although they're elongated, I did feel like that one is unique. I did feel like that one was cool. I can see why John Q was big on it, and I see a place for that because it is unique, mostly because of the shape, not so much of the Kevlar. Like maybe the Kevlar makes that shape more possible because it makes it more forgiving.
Yeah.
So possible. That could be part of that. But the S shape I thought was a little less unique compared to the elongated, though it's still a solid paddle. Though I'm not going to necessarily recommend it over a DBD or something because they're just so similar.
I know that's what's hard, but I do think something fun to look out for. Here's what I'm interested to know. I hit my first double black diamond today. Today's Sunday, but we'll have this out on Tuesday. What I hit that and I loved it. I thought it was great. And they have a similar paddle face. Maybe it's coming. Maybe it's is that the Ruby that's supposed to be coming in December?
Yeah. So yeah, we talked about this last time. How 6-0 is kind of jumping on these trends, and one of them is Kevlar right now. So they have a Kevlar paddle coming out with the Ruby December 6th, I believe.
Yeah. So here's what I'm interested in. If 6-0 was able, if they have some technology, because I feel like their sweet spot was really great. If maybe it's the little bit of a flare difference than what the Pickleball Apes paddle had, but if there's anything different about the core and maybe the way they do maybe the sweet spot is presented, that might, I wonder if we'll feel a difference in the Kevlar then, because I was so thrown off by the smaller sweet spot of the Pickleball Apes S paddle that it might have like tainted my whole opinion on whether or not the Kevlar was bringing much.
You thought the S had a noticeably smaller sweet spot than like the DBD?
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like any little small miss, I could feel it in the paddle. Like I didn't get any response out of it.
I didn't feel that way with
playing the double black diamond, I wasn't feeling that. But that's just playing one paddle once, another paddle another time. But
yeah,
for what it's worth.
I think the difference in shape, right, is the DBD does have a little bit of a flare top, where the S doesn't. But they're the same length, about 16.3, I think is the length. But yeah, I didn't notice much of a difference sweet spot ways, but no,
right, because you hit the center.
I don't think that invalidates like what you're saying. Like it's very possible. And I need to do some more side by side comparison with S. I think it's kind of the next step. Like I've drilled with it and played some games. I need to go do some side by side testing with it. And before
I want to hold on to it, and then if I somehow get my hands on the Ruby, I really want to play them like next to each other, like one after
the DBD and the Ruby.
No, the Pickleball Apes. I just want to see if this idea like that we've just spoken about, like the Kevlar, like is that the next material, or is this just a fad? I don't know for certain, because I feel like the paddle may have been lacking some of the qualities that I wanted to begin with. And now I'm discounting the Kevlar altogether because it didn't really have what I would want in general.
Yeah. The biggest difference between the Apes and the Ruby is Apes is like carbon fiber / Kevlar, whereas the Ruby is 100% Kevlar. But it would be fun to compare those side by side, right? That'll give us a better idea of like, okay, what is the difference that Kevlar makes? And like theoretically, with Kevlar being stiffer, it should be more forgiving than carbon fiber, because it gives you more around the edges. Like stiffer materials gives you a better sweet spot typically.
Yeah, and funny enough, did we talk about this last time with 6-0 that they are playing around with a demo version of the original Pickleball Apes, the elongated? Did you see that one in video?
I did.
So I guess they maybe. I don't know if they're going to launch it, but that'd be funny if they have the same paddle.
Yeah, it looks like they're coming out with a 17-inch long one, but with their kind of flare design. But it's basically the same shape as the PLE by Pickleball Apes.
Cool.
But yeah, that's it for there. But yeah, full review for that will probably from me will come after Thanksgiving. I'm gonna try to drop that around then, and then I'll figure out what paddle. Oh, then I'll probably do Ruby. I'm gonna try to follow up with the Ruby close after that. So the Pickleball Apes is my first Kevlar experience, and I'll be going straight from that into the Ruby, and so I'll do some comparisons there. We can talk about that in the future. But yeah, last section for today is just PPA Daytona that happened this weekend. Give us the highlights there. This one we had a bunch of different medalists, which was kind of fun.
Yeah. I mean, Salome Davidze won women's singles, which is different.
I'm a fan. I'm her only fan. I like her.
She's on OnlyFans. What'd you say? No, you're her only fan. Got it. Yeah. So she takes. Listen, we got to give her all the credit in the world. She beat Lacey Schneeman. There's an asterisk.
All the credit in the world. Is it that hard? She's better than Lacey.
Dropped out, but whatever. Yeah. So that's now on the men's singles side. Did Ben win again? He probably won again, didn't he?
Yeah. Ben won.
He lost in doubles, right? So he's a singles champ again.
Yeah, but Tyson took the second game off him.
Tyson almost had the first game. It was actually a good match there. Tyson was down a few points and he climbed back, and then he was down a couple points and he climbed back. And then he got down like 9-7 in the first, and then I think he lost the next two. Then he won that second game, and then kind of fell apart in the third. But he made it a match, so that was fun. And then we have mixed. So on the mixed side, of course, Anna-Leigh and Ben Johns again.
The Johnsons looked good. Like they
won the first game.
They won the first game. They should have won the second. They had game point on their paddle.
Yeah, that's a good duo.
Didn't pull it out.
And they're the ones who
they're
like the only other mixed team that's really won a championship. I forgot what tournament that was.
Yeah, it was a while ago. But yeah, they're the only ones really I feel like pushing them and are closing the gap.
Yeah. And then the women's, of course, doubles, Anna-Leigh and Catherine beat Callie and Lucy Kovalova, right? Lucy Kovalova.
Yeah. Callie Kovalova made it.
And then the men's was kind of fun because the Johns brothers had lost early. And then funny enough, so it's like Jame and Wyatt Stone beat them early, like second round.
Like
and then
the most random team. Like
yeah, very random team. And then they turn around and those two lose to Tyler Leung and DJ Young. I think
they got beat pretty good.
Yeah. And then Christian Alshon and Connor Garnett seemed to like come out of nowhere. And they beat
Alshon,
Riley.
dude, he's been on the rise still. Like, he is just showing up. But yeah, he beat Riley, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, it's too good. The storyline is great. And
they ended up taking third, Alshon and Garnett, yeah?
No, Alshon and Garnett went to the championship today and lost to Dylan and Jay.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Third, I think, was Tyler and DJ.
Okay.
They beat Matt Wright and Travis Rettenmeyer. So, yeah, and then like Lacey and Jade Kawamoto took third place in women's doubles.
Kawamoto's keep showing up.
Dylan Frazier and Jade Dub are really good, right? It's like
they're
they take the Johns brothers to 5 games and they can battle, but they beat Christian and Connor in 3. So yeah, I mean, I think the other part of this, it's kind of funny, we'll go back to paddles for a moment, I guess, is that what's worth if we're going to throw around some drama. Jill Braverman went to Twitter on
always
Thursday.
Count on her.
You can always count on her. This will be a podcast episode, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
Did you see the one where they put like a little cartoon character that kind of looked like Anna-Leigh?
Oh,
like,
no.
The crybabies of PPA, or like, I don't know what it said.
It's hard to watch her stuff for me.
So, but this one may have some legs. We'll find out if anything else comes out. But apparently the PPA, they enlisted Pickle Pro Labs or whatever, which is the same company, I believe, that does the MLP paddle testing. And on day 1, which would have been Thursday for singles, tested all these paddles, and apparently this is the rumor mill that the Paddle Tech paddles that Anna-Leigh and Irina normally use failed. So then you see Anna-Leigh bail out and withdraw from singles that day. And Irina loses like first round. I think she like lost 11-0, and then she like withdrew from the second game or something.
Is Irina playing Anna-Leigh's paddle?
I don't know for certain if it's like Anna-Leigh's paddle, but the rumor mill too is that they're using these like juiced up versions of what you're playing with.
I see that. I have a hard time believing it, but it's been brought up so many times it makes you think, oh man, is there something behind this?
Or now deflection's one thing. That means they would probably have to change something about the core. I don't think it would be that crazy to think that they send the pros something grittier than what they put on the shelves, because they'll probably do hundreds of paddles for a pro over a 6-month period, and they could probably tell the manufacturer to do some sort of extra grittiness or something just to push the boundaries. But I don't know about pop and power. I don't know how you would achieve that.
Anyways, keep going with your Jilly B story, because that's not over yet.
Yeah. Okay. So Thursday, her story is that they failed, and that's why Anna-Leigh withdraws and Irina didn't do well and loses. So then Friday, she takes to Twitter again. This time, she says that the PPA has now instructed Pickle Pro Labs to change their limits to their testing. So we talked about this before, but there's like a deflection statistic that they shoot for. And so the lower this deflection point, the like poppier the paddle is, the more power you would expect to get. And so she says that they were instructed to change it from like 50 to 42, or maybe it was 42 to 50. I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong direction. But anyway,
it'd be smaller, right?
Yeah, they 50, changed it 42. To be like less stringent. And so then you see Anna-Leigh playing on Friday and Saturday and Sunday
with those paddles.
Her paddle, right? So it's hard to know for sure because we didn't really get to see her play on Thursday, so we have no idea if she would have been forced into another paddle. That would have been one thing. If she comes out and plays with one, and then on Friday she's playing with another. But anyway, if you're into drama, that's the drama of the week.
But like, if that is true, like if they switched it from 50 to 42, like that's like percentage wise, that's pretty high, right?
Yeah, like hopefully I said this right. So I think they pushed it from 50 to 42. Is it
whatever direction is, like the point differential is still 8, which is like a decent percentage difference. Like they really opened up the like threshold there for potentially for Anna-Leigh, if that's true.
Yeah, it's like close to an 18% change. Yeah. And I think we had talked.
How did you just pull that out of your head?
Oh, well, 50 and you do that, 20% is 10 and 8 is like
you're
10,
the professor. So. You are the professor.
Nah.
I have to use calculators and ChatGPT.
I do too for most of the things, but I don't know. But clearly I'm not telling people the right thing about deflection. But in any way, the whole point is they apparently reduced the deflection rating that they would allow, or increased it, I guess, rather, so they could bring poppier. That's what Jill's saying. They allowed poppier paddles to pass and be used. I don't know. You be the judge. But
it's such a funny topic to me. Like, players use this. I mean, she's not the first person to complain about testing. Like, testing is obviously an issue, but they act like it's the difference between winning and losing. Do you think it's the difference between winning and losing? That 8% difference or 18% difference?
I mean, listen, if you haven't listened to the episode with Tyler Leung, I'll save you the time. He says he doesn't give a shit. He's like, dude, if it's coming at you too fast, get out of the way. It's going out. Just move. It's like, but he's making it easier than it sounds. I'm sure it's like, blazing fast, but I do know that on one of the podcasts, they were talking about 2 weeks ago, nationals. They had somebody there analyzing the speed of different things. Someone had a speed gun.
Swing Vision app. That's what they were using.
Yeah, maybe Swing Vision. Yeah, but I did hear some numbers thrown around, like the hardest drive of the week that they got was somewhere in like the 50 or 60 mile per hour. I think they clocked
not even like crazy. I mean, it's good, but not like unsustainable.
It's just
or
a
like
really short. It's a short court, right? I think it's 20 feet to the net, right? So the whole court's 40 feet long, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to think like when in Little League baseball, I forgot what it's a pretty short distance. Maybe it's 60 feet from the pitcher to the home plate, and I think like you would see in the Little League World Series, like maybe kids hit 75 mile per hour. That's pretty fast for Little League. So I guess I don't know. It's a little bit relative when it's a really short court, but I think that's one way they could go about this, though. Like beyond just testing the paddles in general for the sport, maybe they should be seeing how fast players are hitting the ball, so they can understand, is it getting faster over time? Maybe that's the players being better at their swing or whatever, but you still want to protect the sport because, like, if everybody had a Randy Johnson, maybe you don't know who that is, but he was one of the fastest pitchers
Everyone
ever in
knows who Randy.
MLB.
That's the bird smasher.
Yeah, the bird smasher, but he used to throw like 105 miles per hour. Now, he was hitting the upper limit. Now, imagine that became the average. All of a sudden, no batter can hit the baseball.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe that would be fun.
No, I see what you're saying. Like a batter, like what's their batting percentage? Like 300, right? Like so 310, they get a hit. And so if you're dealing with that amount of reaction time, I mean obviously the paddle's bigger, but to your point, like it makes the game a lot harder. And that's an interesting way to look at it. But I don't know where that level is right now, but I do feel like this complaining isn't like the difference between her winning and losing, like these 18% difference. Like I remember when Carping got banned, and
yeah, what were those numbers?
It was too spinny. That was the complaint. It was from like the paddle reviewers at the time. It was getting like 1700 ish like RPMs, and now the average like for a top tier spin paddle is like 2000, and it's just like accepted. Like that's just what people do now, and it's just part of the game, and no one complains about it much anymore, other than occasionally with the grit stuff. But like my point is, like, I don't know, like once everyone has it, like does she care if her paddle can also hit it that hard?
Braydon, here's a hot take. How long, or if this is even a thing you think would happen, how long until they make everyone use the exact same paddle?
They can't do that.
Why not? Baseball does it. Everyone uses the same bat.
Oh, did they really?
No, I'm fairly certain everybody uses the same bat. Now in college, they're allowed to use an aluminum bat, right? And so like it's way poppier. They're hitting home runs, but they're not as strong as what they say. So amateurs could maybe continue to use whatever the manufacturers want to make. But the pros, they use a standard paddle, and their sponsors simply can put their logo all over it.
Huh. I don't like the idea of that, just because, you know, there's different play styles, different paddles, different needs for each player. But I guess that would stop all the complaining and all the issues
you got to play with this.
Having.
This is the pro paddle. I'm kind of curious now. I remember like Louisville Slugger was like the I kind of want to see now.
Yeah, that's I've never put any thought into that, so I don't really have an opinion of it, but that's an interesting idea. I didn't realize there were other sports that did it.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I guess in general, like regardless of the brand, they're just all about like making it as even keel as possible, right? Because remember like the Sammy Sosa thing where he like was corking his bat. This is like what's being talked about right now is that like is Paddle Tech corking their paddles, making it, more pop. Sammy Sosa was hitting record-setting season home runs, and so I don't know. You just
whenever somebody does good, people seem to complain that they're cheating.
Yeah, man, it can't be because they're good. It's gotta be. That's why we're in the business we're in.
Why can't it be that they're just good?
No.
Maybe Anna-Leigh just flat out rips it harder than Jilly B can.
Probably so. But she's got to stay in the limelight somehow.
Well, she's done it. So
here we are.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching and tuning in. Hope you enjoy Thanksgiving week. We appreciate you all and really enjoy doing this. So we'll enjoy the week. We'll see you again later.